Good afternoon and welcome to Peace Zone with Peace Ambassadors on your Captain TV, Abuja. And just like I will always ask you, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well with yourself. You're becoming peaceful by the day. You're becoming just in what you do. You're becoming secured in everything you're doing. And that's the only way we can have a peaceful nation. I want to say thank you for always joining us and being part of this conversation on how to become peaceful with yourself. I am Moses Abolade, your peace building facilitator. And just like we started last week, we started on the conflict situation happening in Sudan, and we're able to trace that to what implications it has on civilians across the globe, and even Nigeria specifically. And we have two amazing guests that did justice to the topic last weekend. And I'm sure that you enjoy that particular episode. And we're here to continue in a very deeper way, looking at what has happened between the time and now. We've realized different reactions, different countries going to conflict zones like Sudan and other places to evacuate their own people. And that's the reason why we'll be looking at evacuation readiness as it applies to civilians in different conflict zones. And that is why we'll be doing this together with Elisha Bello. I think he's on standby. And we will be going in depth into why it's so central in our conversation as peace builders, as peace lovers in different aspects. By the way, as you always know, Peace Zone is a program designed and implemented by PEPNET, which is Peace Education and Practice Network, in partnership with Captain TV Abuja. And I'm sure you have that leverage to come to call in or to share your thoughts via peace-zone 2023@gmail.com. And I'm sure you have a wonderful time reliving those information to us. So I want to believe that my guest is on standby. I will be going straight into talking about this. But before we go to that, I want to believe Elisha is joining us from Calabar. I just want to be sure she is available. Oh, good to have you, Elisha.
Thank you, Moses. I'm glad to have me, and regards to everyone at Captain TV and PEPNET Project.
Thank you very much. And I think because I introduced you last week, some people might still need me to introduce you, and I'll be doing just briefly. I'll be doing that briefly. So right. Elisha is a humanitarian worker who has done great work in Nigeria, in Sudan, in Libya, and who has used his over 6 years experience to support different research work that has to do with peace building, conflict resolution, humanitarian related causes. Good to have you here, Elisha.
Thank you so much, Moses. I'm glad that I'm here, and thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. So let's go straight into it because of time. We understand the situation of most viewers when we started this particular series last week on what is going on in Sudan. And most of them are aware of what evacuation might mean as an action of evacuating a people from a particular place, especially a place of danger or a place of threat. But when we're looking at combat readiness when it comes to evacuation of civilians, I think that is where we will start from. What is actually combat evacuation readiness in itself?
Okay, it's a process that requires a lot of effort from a government, let me say a member of a government of a certain entity, either EU, ECOWAS, United Nations, and the government must prepare and have all those adequate necessary contingency plans in place when they are opening or sending a delegation, either an ambassador or opening an embassy in that very particular country. So it's a process of equipping self with all the necessary things that is required in order to facilitate any evacuation in case of emergency in another country.
Okay. So in situation of violence, which is what we are treating right now, is it every form of threat of violence in any situation that warrant that evacuation should be combat or military kind of? Do you get the question?
Yes,
Is it
I do. So
okay? Go ahead.
To respond to your question, we need to look at it critically. Each country, they have their risk threshold and they have their risk appetite, and
Okay.
that will determine the preparedness they need to put in place, or all the things they need to put in place, and consider if the situation, or let's say the level of the incident, warrants them or can allow them to facilitate evacuation. So these are the determinant factors that will allow a country to prepare themselves or to move for the process of evacuation. I want to give you example.
Okay.
In disaster, yes, in disaster, suppose to have all these things in place during disaster, during crisis, and also during any on mutual understanding between the host country and the other country. Thank you. Over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. So, when such happen, because like the case of the country right now, Nigeria, for an example, we've gotten information that some people they are trying to get permits from a particular country. My countrymen are in danger. I want to rescue them. I heard somebody saying, "Why can't I just go there and pick them up and save them if I want to?" So, what are the conditions? Based on what we are hearing, it seems there are conditions. I think from those who are interested in helping evacuees, they encounter some maybe conditions. Maybe there are some criteria they need to go through in this process. What actually are these conditions, and how can it be well managed? Because of time, because of the kind of situation these evacuees find themselves at this point.
All right, thank you. Let me start from the scratch to tell you that it is expected from each country that is sending a delegation to another country to have a contingency plan, because according to the international diplomacy and bilateral agreement between two countries, there must be a contingency plan in terms of the documentation that will bring understanding between the two countries. Like in the embassy of Nigeria in Sudan or Republic of Sudan, there must be a contingency plan of which it aligns with the context. And there are regulations in that country that we need to meet up with it in that Sudan. And also in contingency plan, Nigeria need to look at some of the exit route in case of this kind of situation, some of the exit route that belongs to other country, that if you are going out of Sudan from this angle, which country are we going to pass through? You need to contact them, to document them, have a contact, have a meeting with them, sign an agreement with them. These are the processes that is required. And if there is another third party that is coming to support the government effort as a very good entity or organization or company that want to support the government to evacuate people from that warring area, or let's say, example, in Sudan, then they are going to write it officially to the government of Nigeria, copying the embassy of South Sudan and the relevant authorities. With that, if Nigerian government give in-country approval to that entity or organization or company, then it will now be forwarded to the embassy of Nigeria in Sudan and CC the government of Sudan. And now the embassy will now take it to the relevant authority in Sudan, so that they will now gazette and certify and recognize that entity or organization or company that want to render a support to the Nigerian population in Sudan to get evacuated back to the country. Without following this process, no matter how they reach out to Nigerian government in country with those with the intention of support like this, Sudan government would decline, because Sudan don't have that country agreement with an online organization. That is why when you're applying for visa as an individual, there are some certain things that you must certify. The first criteria, they must see your passport. It shows you are eligible citizen. I hope you are getting me.
Yes,
so Sudan will recognize that based on diplomacy and based on diplomatic tiers. So I think these are the things needed, and these are the processes to follow, either entity or individual. Thank you. Over to you, Moses.
Thank you so much for sharing more light on those contingency issues, the complexity of the procedures and everything. Possibly we'll go on a short break, but when we come back, we'll be going into another deep part of the conversation. Let me just keep that for when we come back from this short break. Thank you very much, and stay tuned. On this Amazon show, P-Zone, and on P-Zone, you know what we're doing, and we are having a conversation with Elisha Bello, who is an humanitarian expert, and we're discussing issues around evacuation, combat evacuation readiness, as it impacts civilians in foreign countries. And I think he's on standby, so we are going straight into the other part. This is deep, because recently we have Elisha. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Moses. Glad to be back again.
Yes, thank you. So there was this conversation that occurred on Twitter some times back, which has to do with evacuation of or returnees, or people who are affected by violence, if it's actually a right or a privilege or something that the country is just doing out of love. Somebody posted something and it's generated a lot of controversies. Our focus is, for us on this show, our concern is evacuation of these people who are our own nationals in different places. They might be Nigerians or in any place at all. Is it a right in itself, or is just a privilege?
Yes.
Rendered by, okay. I would like you to explain further.
Moses, I will beat my chest and tell you that it is a right, because it enshrines under the fundamental right of each and every citizen that the government must protect its citizens across all borders. That means even if you are not in this country, you are doing a legal activity in another country. That is why the embassy is there representing your country. The moment you step in within the territory or within the vicinity of Nigerian embassy, wherever you are, if you are a citizen, you are in Nigeria. That's how it is. So nobody should think it's a privilege. It is a right. It's a legal responsibility of the country. I want to give you an example, please. Let's not even take this thing further. Nigeria as a country is an organization. I hope you are getting me.
Yes.
And it is the responsibility of organization to provide safety and security for its members or its staff. I hope you are getting me.
Yes.
So as a duty of care, each citizen of Nigeria that legally, please, I'm taking note of this, take note of legally being in another country, doing a legal activity. Nigeria has a responsibility of evacuating that person in case of any conflict that is threatening human lives in that country. So please, it's not even a privilege, it is a right. To add to it, very important and essential for us to understand as citizens. Many people are arguing. I ask a lot of young people to go and read the Nigerian Constitution and align it with some of the international principles that we append as member state of the United Nations. We are going to adhere to all those things. When we understand all these things, it's going to help us in some of the arguments that you will see them flying on social media. Some of these people, they were just using the current situation and their thoughts to post something and try to justify it based on their logical reasoning. Of course, it is good to go back, even if you are not a legal practitioner, to know some basic things, especially the fundamental human right, to know them. What are the components contribute in your national constitution to safeguard you while you are in country or you are abroad? Very, very important. These are the things I want to advocate for our young people and other relevant stakeholders as a Nigerian citizens to know more about, so that this kind of argument, we shouldn't even start bringing it because it's sounding so ridiculous. Yes.
I brought it up because this platform is a point to educate a lot of people. I could remember there are several refugee-related content out there that most of us, most Nigerians, most people might not be aware of, and I'm happy that you're dealing with it strategically. There is several of them, and I will also employ people after this particular interview to take time to read R2P Respect to Protect, right to protect, and other fundamental rights that are important as per refugees' rights or other people who are concerned when it comes to situations like this. But let's go straight. Thank you so much for answering that way. Let's go straight into looking at the stakeholders responsible for it. There has been different information too about who is responsible. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Diaspora Commission, several concerns has been going on around who is to manage what, and I think it started. Most revelation on this started with this recent Sudan issue. But I want to say, when it comes to responsibility itself, who are those people we are to look out for? And what's even the role of the evacuees in this particular process?
All right. Thank you so much. This is very critical. In Nigeria, we have a lot of agencies, ministry that have a lot of duplication of responsibility. That is why they are so confused. They will not be able to identify which one is responsible or which one is not responsible. I am ashamed to find out that this argument has been going on amongst even the government parastatals, stakeholders, that they couldn't fathom who is responsible. But believe me, we are in a democratic regime in Nigeria. Democracy is the thing of the day, and we are practicing it according to our efforts. But for me, there is a chairman of diaspora, and also there is a focal point of each embassy, and all ambassadors, they have a forum that they discuss. And I'm very pretty sure other relevant agencies that are concerned, they will be in touch with the ministry that are in charge of diaspora, that is Minister of Foreign Affairs. They are the one to initiate the process and invite the relevant stakeholders that will render support. But however, sorry to tell you, Moses, we don't have a comprehensive, updated contingency plan for response to this kind of incident with our citizen in another country. A typical example I will give you with that of Ukraine coming back to this South Sudan is a very, I thought by now will have improved because of the gaps identified during the Ukraine incident. Some of our friends were stranded. Other countries that have all this mechanism in place, all these processes in place, they evacuated their people within a short period of time when the window for ceasefire was announced in Ukraine, when some people run to the other bordering countries. They render support to them. But because we don't have the system in place, like I've mentioned earlier, in developing contingency plan like this, you need to reach out to other neighboring countries that you think is an access point for exit to your country, people that are in that country. So, but Nigeria don't have that. Until when there is something like this, you will start seeing press release that we are reaching out to the Egyptian government, to the Egypt government to support our people that are at the border to allow them to come. Then they will start giving us fresh conditions of which we cannot meet up with it within that short period of time. You see, all these things. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, to take note, liaise with the embassy there to be having a frequent check-in calls and brief them about the situation and relate both government and other stakeholders at the private level so that they will take it up. Example, when the chairman of the Air Peace reached out to the Nigerian government, I want to support. Had it been there is a mechanism, and what we call crisis management team are responding on a frequent manner by the Nigerian government. They will easily reach out to him without hesitation, since he's willing, he said, in 24 hours to go. It will have been easier, and other airlines will also support. But imagine, it's Air Force with their less or let's say low fleet, but they still support with the Air Peace. For me, we don't have that process in place, so we need to reignite and reintroduce it to align with the global standard so that we will not risk our people while they are in another country doing
Thank you
illegal
very
activity.
much. Thank you so much. At least you've even given me your parting words. And I want to say thank you for joining us on this particular episode. And I believe that people have learned there's so much work to be done. No matter the country you're seeing this from, it's important that we pay attention to issues around peace and how we can prevent most of this conflict even before escalating to this. Special thanks to the management crew of Kaftan. Special thanks to the management team of PepNet. And we also thank everybody who are on the field there rescuing people from conflict zone to peaceful zones. We want to say thank you very much. And we hope that next time you join us and we have a wonderful episode on P Zone. Thank you and bye for now.